Welcome. You're on The Fringe Show. I'm your host, Tatiana Zalan, and I go live every Friday at 2 p.m. Dubai time. At The Fringe, we talk about, technology startups and mental models of successful people so that you too can take advantage of the opportunities in the new digital world. And The Fringe, generally speaking, helps you to navigate the rapidly changing world and increase the odds of your success. I usually talk about technology on my show, but today we have a very special guest. And so we are speaking to the last topic that I sometimes cover on the show as well, and that's the mental models of successful people. We have a show number 22, and it's all about finding balance in life for high achievers. And I'm very, very pleased to have a special guest today, Larissa Vakulina. And in this episode, I will be interviewing Larissa on how high-achieving people like herself can find balance in their lives. And we will explore how to become limitless, manifest positive change in life. And we'll also be talking about the future. What kind of world do we see unfolding? Let me just let you know that it's a live show, so please allow yourself to for Facebook to identify you so that I can see your name. And I'm not your financial or investment advisor. We're not your health advisors either. This show is for informational and educational purposes only. Now, let me introduce Larissa, my dear friend and my colleague in many ways as well. Firstly, Larissa has got a very unusual set of skills and education. She's an engineer, right? I'm just looking at your CV from Russia and our accents, just in case you're wondering, or my audience is wondering where they're coming from and when or why they're so similar. We're both of Russian background. Larissa has also completed at some point in time Master of Business Administration degree at the University of Adelaide, and this is precisely where we met with Larissa. She also had a course at Harvard Business School, which was kind of an advanced leadership course for women. And interestingly enough, and that's really has always puzzled me, but now I understand why she did this. She's also a graduate of the Barbara Brennan School of Healings. And she's a practitioner and therapist in human energy consciousness system and energy medicine. As I mentioned, Larissa is a high achiever herself, and she's got a number of honors and awards. And that they are from Australia, mainly from Australia, like finalist Telstra Businesswoman of the Year Award, finalist of the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. She was the first, her company rather, not her, but her company was the third fastest growing company in Australia. And that was according to the W Fast 100 Awards. And I very clearly remember this evening when we went for the presentation of the award, Larissa. That was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. At that time, I lived in Melbourne. You were also listed amongst the 50 most successful entrepreneurs in South Australia. You're included in the book, in the State of Mind, and you won the Asia Pacific Council for Women Award, Women of Distinction. As many of us, you wear many hats, so you can probably talk about your work a little bit more, but you've also been an honorary consular general for the Russian Federation for South Australia and Western Australia, now 15 years almost, all right? So it's a really, really interesting list of skills and honors and awards and things you've done in your life. So maybe let's get started. Have I?
Well, number one, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I am a listener of your show, and I'm really excited to see you how you go into the very interesting area of developing area, and I myself not really fully immersed in that and understand, but I'm really like to listen your show, but also Thank you for invitation for me to be on your show, and thank you for that such a great introduction. I already kind of put all of these awards past in my life, and I kind of don't really mention any more of these things in my life. But anyway, thank you.
Oh, well, you are very welcome. Thank you for being the supporter of one of the supporters of the Fringe Show. Now, I've got a few questions for you, and I hope you can share your experiences with my audience. A few years back, you had a very dramatic experience that radically changed your life and maybe even changed your personal life and relationships as well. Would you please talk a little bit more about this experience and also share what you've learned from this experience, because it was quite dramatic.
Right. It's a good question, Tatiana. Thank you. When I look back, I basically can relate and can observe a lot of people that are in the same situation as I was. I was really successful. I was running very fast-growing business, and I really was immersed in this kind of outer definition of success that I had really interesting experiences outside of me, but inside of me, I had really an emptiness and not fulfilled feelings about everything that was happening outside. So I guess this gap between the success on one hand and the emptiness and not being fulfilled inside created a very strong strengths in my system. And as we know that our bodies are full reflection of our emotional, psychological, mental states, and also it is a unique intelligent device for us to communicate that something is not really balanced in our life. So I had this dramatic sign of disbalance in my life that I basically completely changed my life, my career, and my understanding of perception of myself and perception of the reality that we are living in. And so that was almost like a overnight awakening type of realization that it was almost like showing off on a screen of my mind that the life that I've been living, being very successful, but it was not really satisfying. It was not joyful. It was not fulfilled, because it's probably was something that I was not loving to do. And I didn't really recognize it in myself. I was so busy of doing it that I was never grounded enough to ask myself even a question. Like even my thought process sometimes was closed to ask myself this question. I was blocking it, and I was almost in a denial, and almost like telling myself it's okay. You kind of bribe yourself into that, because it is really confronting to really face the truthfulness of your state, and start to dig deeper and see how you can sort these things. And only when I got into this very deep illness crisis, I was basically awakened overnight and thinking to myself, well, that's it. I need to start to sort out these things within myself. And that's led me to resign from my business, to just have some time for myself, go into the healing journey, and then I made decision to study further about how we humans create this balance, how we create how we create this strenuous existence and living that is putting us into that very, very serious state of disbalance. And then, of course, the illness, disease. So, and we always very quick to thinking that if we go to doctors, that's going to help us very quickly. They have a magic devices or magic pills that can help us. But really, in reality, that's what I was experiencing, that the medical system is, of course, very good for accidents and some emergency, situations, but not really necessarily in the preventative type of the of our states. And so, yeah, that was my journey, and what I learned from it was that if we keep not trusting our inner feelings and our inner longings, or I would say the inner guidance, the voice that we all have, because we constantly have this dialogue. We have this inner dialogue. And many times we have the dialogue and we leave the questions for ourselves unanswered. We're thinking that it's going to go and dissolve itself, that questions that we ask without answers not going to be coming back again. But really, that's the big mistakes. We keep accumulating the unanswered questions. And when we keep accumulating them, well, then they become blockages of our system and blockages of our creativity and our expression and reflection of who we really are. And then, of course, we create the crisis.
Yeah. And obviously, well, you kind of, in your shows and your work, you speak very openly about this experience. And I know that you didn't take the traditional route despite everybody's advice and despite what others told you, including your family, very close family. Clearly, when you are confronted with such a disease, you experience, and if you reject the traditional route, you're faced with fear. Every human is faced with fear and would be, and that's totally normal in such a situation. But you overcame this fear. So how did you do that?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, that's a good question. Fear is a very, very huge denominator for all humanity, and we have all sorts of different fears. Well, at that time when I created an illness crisis, I created a cancer, right? And when we people receiving such a diagnosis, we automatically fall into this space of the fear, and the constructive thinking basically is out of the window. For me, it was something that really was possibly a miracle. I don't know, but the day I received my diagnosis, I had this, screen opening in my mind, and the voice was telling me that, like, why are you surprised? You have never been living your life, right? And it's like, I was fearing this voice, but at the same time, it was so clearly telling me that I'm living somebody's life. I'm living somebody's standard of life. I was living somebody's direction or guidance of my life, and I never lived mine. So, and when I actually start to, ground into this message that was obviously received from my intuition or my higher self. I don't know. I didn't know at that time. The only things I knew, that the voice was so clear. And I was just kind of analyzing. I was contemplating on this voice, and I was thinking, well, how is my life look like? I don't even know. I don't know. No one teaches us how our personal lives look like. We always try to live some lives that is basically molded for us, or presented to us, or showed us how do we need to live our lives. And when I start to, go into this space and ask myself, what is my life look like? I basically decided that my life looked like without this business that I was involved, without the partnerships that I was there, without the relationships that there, without some friends that was there. I mean, it was obvious that all of this, the system that was around me was not resonating with my inner truthfulness of who I was back then, right?
Mm.
And to change and move into the life that I need to live, I needed to let go of all of this past. I would say the systems or the people that probably not served me anymore at that time. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Mm.
And that's how I overcome a fear. Of course, fear is something that is so overtaking all our, thinking, our feelings, our existence. It's just such a space where we very fast running after some sort of solutions that can comfort that fear and can basically satisfy that fear to some level, right? And of course, we all unique, we all individual, and everyone have different degree of dealing with fear and a degree of meeting that fear. If someone is comfortable and more aligned with the medical protocols for the treatment of cancer, well, be it. And possibly that treatment can help, right? For me, I was not aligned with that at all. And I was taking the risk of being in unknown and taking that very, very, very big risk to decide that I'm going to live with what I created.
Yeah. So you took responsibility for whatever happened to you. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Great. You've been obviously a very successful award-winning entrepreneur, and you now help others, entrepreneurs like you yourself was, to find balance in their lives, which is kind of the title of our show today. What do you think? What are the most common mistakes that entrepreneurs make, or successful business people, generally speaking?
Oh, it's a very good question, Tanya. Thank you. I think there's a number of things, and for me, what I really observe is that that the definition of success in our society is very, very limited, and it is very one-sided definition of success. We all accustomed and we all accepted and agreed that success is in our society mainly derived from accumulation of wealth, from some positions in our society, some roles, the authority roles that we play, and that's what really a lot of people having the definition of this success. But as I said, I was successful in that definition, but it didn't bring me the happiness and joyfulness or health in my life. So I needed to look at different definition of success and see how we can actually be successful in all areas of our life. Because the life that given to us is so precious, and it's not really that alone that we have to live in this physical form. So why would we waste our time and energy to run after that very limited success, right? So I kind of winding up the definition of success for me, and I started to look at how we can have it all. Success in wealth, success in health, success in relationships, success in our personal relationship to ourselves. How can we have this successful living and being successfully relational to everything that life is offering to us, right? So number two is what I found is that a lot of entrepreneurs or business leaders, they not using the ability to align with themselves and use these skills of the emotional compass that we all have, right? There's disconnection and disconnection from themselves and looking to outside for the solution of all their problems and conflicts. That's where the big mistake is happening, because we have it all here within ourselves. We have the most reliable navigation system that can tell us and can guide us for any business decisions that we can make, if we can know how to ask ourselves the right questions, how we can wait for the answer to arrive, and how we can discern where it is the fearful mind that is guiding us, or where it is the heart and our intuition is involved in these decisions, right? So, and then number three is what I found is, of course, also is as a limitations, I would say, for the success of the business leaders and entrepreneurs is the concept of competition. I mean, let's face it, this is still existing. This is still very strong, embedded in our society. But the concept of competition sits on the concept of separation, and it sits on the concept of some kind of specialty, which is in itself is a negative intention, right? When we operate and function from the space of negative intention, well, then we experience our creative power, or we experience in what we're doing in a very, very hard way. It's like this negative intention and ideas that we have from that space requires like 100 times more energy, time, and effort to implement into the reality. And then, of course, it's such a also the foundation, if we build it based on competition, is really not stable. It's almost like building this castle on a sandy foundation. So this is really, I think, three major
mistakes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great, and it's a very good segue into kind of my next question. I remember in one of your shows, you said something that really deeply resonated with me. You said that humans, and I believe in that, humans are limitless, genuinely limitless, and yet we tend to put ourselves into some kind of boundaries, and it can be things like authority. We have to follow rules, and this kind of immediately sets limit to what you can do or what you can achieve, right? And if you can elaborate a little bit on that from your experience, from what you see in your work with others.
Right. Yeah. Well, you see, it is really connected to what I already just been saying. But again, it's like because we all been going through this learning process and the learning evolutionary process of the humanity, growing and rising our awareness of ourselves and our how being a conscious beings, we constantly try to achieve some newer levels of understanding. And of course, most of the time we try to do it in outside of us, right? We want to know more about space. We want to know about society, but it's all in ourselves, right? And when we actually have the society where most of our areas of life are controlled, suppressed, guided, and parented, or schooled, and whatever we have, right? It's almost like we need to choose with ourselves. If we choosing to comply with everything that is thrown at us, we then are really limiting our own creativity, and we also settling on the space where we not having answers, because when we ask about everything, right? And when we ask and not receiving the answers, well, then we settling into the reality to live with unanswered questions. And when we live in a space of unanswered questions, we would never know our full potential, because we never go outside of that boundary. We thinking that if someone leads us and tell us this is the only way it is, we never explore how that could be different, and we settle with this concept of just being a decent citizens and following whatever is asked of us. So, well, but then we need to understand, if we do that, then we pay the price. And the price is that we then agree to live our life half dead and half alive. Because that part of us that is still keeping these unanswered questions, or more questions that no one can answer, that part of us is gonna to really create this balance, right? So we need to start to take the risk of saying, no, I have the question and I'm looking for the answer, and if I don't have the answer that satisfies me, I can say no.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's kind of a very powerful message. And you often emphasize that in your shows, and in particular that we people are very powerful creators, which is kind of are not even aware sometimes of our powers. And we can use our magic of manifestation towards positive change. Maybe if you can please elaborate on how do you see this manifestation of change? How do you go about it?
Right.
From your personal experience again.
Very good questions. Thank you. Well, yes, we are so amazingly created. We designed the way that it is so powerful, and it is so awesome to understand that we are able to use our creative power to create anything we want, right? It's only that because we have these fearful parts of ourselves, we have these parts that are blocked, and we choosing to stay in that blockages. The parts that are not in alignment with who we are, right? Because we've been never told who we are. We've been never taught that we have these powers. We never taught that we can create, and we can create from the thin air by our consciousness, by our focus, by knowing how we can align our emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual bodies, and how we can actually manifest a lot of things. And from my personal experience, I just can share with you my personal story. As I was I was dreaming long time about having a property of some kind of bigger size than only 500 square meters, the standard block. And I really was wanting it so much that I, in the beginning, of course, I didn't understand. Again, that was voice within myself. The voice was telling me, you need to have a land. And I was suppressing that voice for some time, because Why do I need the land? I'm running my business. I'm participating in a number of board of directors. I'm a member of the Reserve Bank panel, business panel. You know, you name it, all of these awards and things. Why do I need the land? Really? I mean, it didn't really make any sense for me, that voice that was telling me, but it was so strong. And eventually I gave up. I started to think, okay, if I need land, I didn't know why and what for, but I thought to myself, okay, the voice is so strong, maybe I need to go and have a look for land. And my mind, my intellectual mind, overtook this intuitive impulse and created an agenda that if it is a land, it has to be in a certain location. It needs to be in a certain, form. It needs to be with a certain, price and things like that. So that's the logical mind always take you into this very logical journey. And that really was a mistake, I would say, because when we have the intuition, we need to trust and wait that there's going to be some signs of where you can discern that this is really is. But I took over, the mind took over the intuition. And I basically kind of almost wasted maybe about a year or a year and a half driving everywhere looking for the land, which I didn't know why I needed. I just thought that it is cool to have land in some, stylish little town and things like that. So, and then I was the longer I was spending searching for the land, the more I was frustrated because I didn't really find anything, and I didn't know how to actually find that land without knowing why I need it. But I thought to myself, well, if the voice is telling me I need it, it will recognize when I go there. Nothing happened. My voice didn't recognize it, right? My intuition didn't recognize it. And then one day I remember I was so tired of this and I was just so frustrated. And I thought to myself, okay, this is silly. I just need to drop this idea. I need to just stop looking for this land and I need to forget about it. And then I thought, if it meant to happen, it will happen itself. And then straight away, this one part of me said, well, how about that voice? It will nag you again. And the other part was saying, well, I have imagination, right? So, and that's how I start to really manifest the land that really was resonated with me, right? And imagination. Every time the voice will come up and say, you need a land, I would close my eyes and I would imagine how that land would look, what it will have, almost up to the details. And it was so strongly imagined that I was so happy to be in that place. Every time I need that happy place, I would close my eyes and I'm on my land, right? So, and it took me about, I think it took me about like 3.5 years to do that, right? To imagine, to be in that happy place. And then it came.
Yeah, the happy place came to you.
Place came to me. It came to me exactly in a way and a form as I imagined it, all up to the details. So the art of manifestation rests on the feelings, right? You have the idea, then you need to feel it as if you already have it. So I really dropped the idea that I maybe not even gonna to have that land, but I was so happy already have it within myself as an imaginative, object that universe didn't have any chance to us deliver it to me, right? So that's really how we can manifest. Well,
Kind of mind over matter. Yeah, this is what happened here. Yes, yeah, very interesting story. Yeah, we can all possibly learn from that. So you need to have a genuine desire, it would seem, but then you let it go and just
Absolutely.
let it manifest it at some point in time. It will come.
Absolutely.
If it's something genuine and very visceral, I think you need to be very visceral.
It's alive. You could feel it. Like when I was frustrated, when I was going for inspections, I was very frustrated. In that space, never anything gonna to happen. The more I was frustrated, the more I was creating the frustration. But once I decided that I dropped that, I really not depend on having that land or not, and my happiness is not dependent on that, but my imagination was built in it, and that focus of the mind and the feeling of the heart made that magic happen, right? And once you know how to do that, you can create anything, really. I mean, right now for me it takes less time to manifest something, right? But again, sometimes it's not. It is again. It's like this is sits in our very, very comprehensive energy consciousness system, because so many parts that is flowing and so many parts not flowing. So it's the combination of all of these parts of ourselves. But it is trainable. It can be learned. The manifestation can be practiced, and it is absolutely possible to create anything you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, one of my last questions is about this creation, particularly of the future. On my show, I sometimes, not always, but sometimes I talk about what the future holds for us, what some forces are planning for us, like central bank digital currencies. I had a show on that. I had a show on what the World Economic Forum thinks that we should be having, and by 2030, like, you will own nothing and be happy. So that's an interesting view of human history. But what I personally see, and I don't know whether you will agree with me, is that the old world as we know it, the old institutions, are literally crumbling before our eyes. And how do you see the future? I know it's a big question, and we're not going to cover it today, but maybe you can talk about an aspect of the future that concerns you most, or you feel particularly emotional about. Doesn't have to be overall general future, but some aspect of it. Please do.
Very, very good question. I mean, we're all probably right now asking this question ourselves. Yes. It tied up with what we've been discussing about conformity, compliance and all things like that. It is, because the old world as we know it probably gonna to go, and of course everything is crumbling in the front of us. The question is about, like, what are we building, how the new world gonna to look like, and it is fully our choice. It is everyone's choice. Are we as individuals and as a collective ready to create the new world as we want it, right? We all wanted the world to be, abundant, not having any pain, not having any limitations. But again, we need to be aware from which place we want to have it, right? And are we ready for self-governance? Is humanity ready to take over the existing, structures of the governance, right? Are we ready to be self-leaders and self-governing our lives and take full responsibility for what we're creating, even if we're creating something that we don't like, right? Because for so many years or aeons, we've been basically governed by the governments that considered themselves as a custodians of us. So as if we are not able or capable to make our own decisions, as if we are not having any power to do that. And that's what, and from our agreement of that, we created what we have right now. So, well, then now we are at the point where we need to make a big decisions, each and everyone as individuals and as a collective. We need to make that choice. Are we gonna to be again live half lives or half deaths or half fully control? Then of course that's the choice as well. Maybe it is another cycle of the learning. Who knows? But at the same time, what I'm observing around the world, the people start to awake. People start to see that we are not agreeing on the way that we've been living our lives. We're not agreeing on, in a way of being governed with the government that was taking control of us. And I believe personally that we are so powerful that all collectively we can make that positive change. The only one things we need to do, we need to change the paradigm of our thinking from the fearful, compliance into the reimagining the new world with the freedoms, right? Like I imagined my land. We can reimagine the world if we all ground ourselves, if we start to deal with our fear in a constructive way, and really look at what's happening and make logical sense and have this constructive thinking. So because of these big shifts and all the energies that are right now like a vortex is taking people and sucking in the people into different fearful states, into the doubts, into this compliance, and all of this is like a big cauldron of the soup, I would say. But there's new energies coming up in the form of awakening, in the form of having awareness of what's going on, in the form of saying no. We are living beings and we are sovereign. We are here being created by God, by source, by, the high...
Yeah, whatever you believe in.
You resonates with you, but we are, and we have the same powers as our creator to create the world that we want to live in. And this is the task of each person, to start to look after your own inner stability, your inner emotional state, your ecosystem, inner and outer, and only then you would be able to make these constructive decisions. So I think right now people just need to stop maybe for a little while and stop looking at all of this official media, I would say, news that create more hype of the fear, and probably just that's our responsibility, really. It's just like make that decision, disattach yourself from this field of the fear and start to create your own ecosystem that then can help the collective ecosystem to emerge in a very strong self-governance choice.
Yeah, this is how I see it as well. And I definitely see, I work with a lot of people who are in the kind of decentralized finance. And so they do see the world in a very different place. Clearly with cryptocurrencies, but also they're talking about decentralizing power, decentralizing or rather changing the old media, the new media is emerging. We see parallel structures are emerging right now, and it's very, very clear for those who are really paying attention. So I think that we will one day live in a beautiful world that we've created ourselves with all the new institutions, new media, new power structures, and being really responsible and accountable to ourselves. Yeah, not relying on some other authorities trying to think for us and do work for us. No, we are very powerful creators, I think, as human beings. And no artificial intelligence is going to replace that. This is what keep telling my students. We haven't really even figured out what creators can do. Yeah, so
and that's what we are here. We need to stand strong for the values of the human power that we have. That's really a pivotal moment right now in our human evolution, which is we in our lives, of course, we didn't experience that, but I think this cycle of learning repeat itself every 2,000-3,000 years, where this kind of things happening. But again, we need to really take responsibility, full responsibility. This is the key.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your insights, Larissa. It was a great pleasure to have a view from you about how things work and what we can do in the new world. Where can people find you, Larissa? Can you please?
Yes, thank you. Well, I run my own live show every week. It's called The Heart of Success Show. I unfortunately cannot actually post anything on your comments, but if people just search for the Facebook page called The Heart of Success Show with Larissa Vakulina, so you can jump on this group and maybe just watch a few shows and see if that resonates with you. You can follow, and there's other little groups that I manage as well. And so I also run some very short online workshops for people who are very overwhelmed, people who are overwhelmed at work professionally, but also in life generally, and especially right now, there's a lot of overwhelmed people. And I'm working on my bigger program that is a 6 weeks program that is gonna to take people through the journey of deepening self-awareness, building self-leadership, and create that ecosystem within and outside of yourself that can really help you in these unstable times.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, Larissa. And thank you, the audience who is joining me, who has joined me. And thanks for joining. And I shall see you next time on next Friday at 2 p.m. Dubai time again.
Thank you, Tatiana, and everyone. Thank you.